Home, the gold.
He could be too far. No, he's kicking. Oh, what a catch!
Puts a spicy forehand out in front of Naomi Morcilla.
Move for the win. Team Canada. Garrett Wu!
Santos with the layout grab.
Oh, that fantastic grab. The claws of Chaffer.
Canada just became the world champions.
Yo, Canada and the rest of the world. You're listening to the Huckin podcast. I'm your solo host here today, Theo, living out in St. Catharines, Ontario. And we're back. We're going every other week. You may have noticed that. May have noticed a little bit of a trend. So this is the every other week. So here we have an episode. It's always weird to do the catch up on your own, but I'm going to do it anyways. So it's like I'm talking to you folks, wherever you're listening. First of all, thank you for doing that. So yeah, for me, focusing a little bit on getting ready for tryouts. You probably have seen a lot of teams posting about their tryout announcements or some early season scrims. So I highly recommend you get out to do that. And yeah, get ready for a sweet ultimate season. Obviously, there is Masters Nationals happening in Waterloo. So I'm going to do a cheap plug and say, Masters team, if you're looking for a player, holla at your boy. Haven't committed to a team yet. So if you want to have a handler on your team, you can slide into the DMs. Been talking to a few people, but yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping to play Masters Nationals and see a bunch of you there, and then hope to be present at Nationals in Ottawa as well. In terms of personal work life, we got most of you are, I would say 99% of you are not following the OUA scene, and that's fine. But yeah, we have our swimming championships this coming weekend, so we're hosting this big 3-day swim event. So it's a pretty big deal. There's some requirements we have to do from a hosting perspective. So it'll just be three days of charting swimming results and making sure certain media obligations get done. So it's been fun preparing. And then after that, we got playoffs. So the team I work with, the Brock Badgers, have multiple teams heading into the playoffs. So it's kind of fun and interesting to see these sports that are what we call market driven in our industry, where at least for our teams, you have to pay for tickets to get in. It just makes me think about if one day Ultimate, I think I've said this before, if Ultimate could one day get there, where you could have one-off games. I know Brock and McMaster did one. I know Western's done some. It kind of be cool, maybe a crosstown showdown with U of T, TMU, York, do a little thing. You could book out Lamport, Varsity Stadium, something like that. If you're in Manitoba, Winnipeg, and Manitoba play each other somewhere, just get a little crowd going. Dogwood Bowl gets a crowd out in BC, so it'd be kind of cool to have some of those one-off games. I wonder if Ultimate will ever get there. I think it would be super viewer-friendly to have these one-off games, for example, for volleyball, and this happens across the country. So AUS, which is in the Atlantic, Canada West, all those conferences, they would have kind of their women's volleyball team starts first, and then their men's team follows. And so you could easily follow that model. Just have two teams playing each other, one off, get a varsity status. That's the hope, okay? So that's the pipe dream, but we are going to talk about university today because obviously that's the main season happening. We both have indoor series in Canada, and also a Canadian team went down to the United States. So that's super fun. We're just going to take a break. We're not going to really have the breaking news segment thing. We're just going to take a break. We're going to talk Canadian Eastern Indoor University Series first, and then Queen City Tune-Up. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is G. Lee, coach of the Wheaties Junior Women and Queen City Bees out of Saskatchewan. You are listening to the Huckin A podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.
All right, so we have the Canadian Eastern Indoor University Series out in Brampton, Ontario. Fun fact, I TV'd this tournament how many years ago now? It's got to be 3 or 4. this is right before like COVID kind of shut everything down. We had that main event about to happen in March of 2020, and then that got canceled. So yeah, 4 years ago, I TD'd that event. A friend of mine TD'd this event. So I will give a shout out to the schedule maker himself, Ben Clark, because this schedule is very easy to read and has final results standing. So I did appreciate that I could just see the final results at the end. It differs a little bit from Batch got his own style too. So both of them have their own style of how they make the schedule. So it's kind of fun to see the differences. Batch has got the plus minus and the reseed and some things like that. So it's kind of cool to see how different tournament directors, tournament directors organize their schedules. So anyways, we're going to talk women's first. It's hard for a schedule maker when there's 9 teams, but there were 9 teams regardless. You had 2 teams from the same school in the same pool, and something going awry with the seeding here, but we're going to talk about it. So we had Guelph X, Waterloo, Carleton. It says Western, but I think they go as London. Guelph Y. Often you hear XY, are they split squads? Well, hey, Guelph Y takes down Guelph X first game of the day, 14-6, and that's en route to winning their pool. So they go from the 9 seed, the last seed in their pool, and they go 4-0. 2 teams go 2-2. That's Carleton and Guelph X. I believe Carleton gets the tiebreaker. They go to quarterfinals because they win 13-10, and so does Guelph. So both teams actually make it to quarterfinals, but Waterloo Western eliminated there. And the other pool, you have McMaster. Normally they send multiple squads. We've seen that in years past, and we try to. I remember last year I went through the 3 events and tried to see if they were all the same players, but sometimes they move around a little bit. But there's no movement here because they have just 1 squad. So Toronto, TMU, and then the Brock Badgers as well. McMaster goes 3-0. Closest game was their 4-point win over Toronto. TMU, a nice little, I'm not sure if it was Universe, but a 12-11 win over Brock to go into the quarters. And so the top teams of the pools got buys in the semi. So that's McMaster and Guelph Y. And then Toronto, Guelph X in 1 quarter, Carleton against TMU in the other. Too bad these games weren't filmed because they were 1-point contests. So Toronto beats Guelph 10-9. Carleton beats TMU 11-10. So crazy times out in Brampton. The facility is very interesting because they have stands up top. So I feel like you can get a little bit of a rowdy atmosphere. I'm not sure if any of you have seen this European clip that was going around all the TV. A little bit clickbait title, I'm not going to lie. Best 7 minutes ultimate you'll ever see. I don't think that's true, but the atmosphere, you could create a little bit of that in Brampton if people in the stands were getting rowdy. You had like vuvuzelas and noisemakers and stuff. You could probably make that happen. But anyways, in the semifinals, one of them is not close. McMaster takes down Carleton by a large margin, 17-6, whereas Toronto, mentioned they had lost to McMaster the previous day. They actually pulled the win over Guelph, so they win 10-8. That game was at 2:55, so this is late starts out here. I'm just looking. The quarters was at 2:15, so super late start. That is interesting because, with facility use and when you can get them, you sometimes don't always get to pick your schedule. So for a team like Carleton, they finish their day at 4:50. They got to drive back and have school the next day. So kudos Carleton for showing up to Brampton and playing. Both sides actually sent teams. McMaster does win over Toronto 12-11. So McMaster takes back their crown. They came second in the first tournament of the year. Guelph A, they weren't Guelph XY. They were just Guelph A. They had come first the previous tournament. From what I'm seeing, Toronto did not make an appearance in the first tournament. So congrats, McMaster. And then other results followed. So that's on the women's side. Let's jump into Open. A much easier time for the schedule makers at the powers that be because there are 10 teams just like there were in the Burlington tournament. So we'll start with Pool A, Guelph. Now this is a team called London. Carleton, TMU, and York make up this pool. And Carleton, they were seeded 3rd in the pool, but they go 4-0 looking for their margins of victory. And yeah, they won a game by 6, beat Guelph by 13. I wonder who Guelph had on the roster for that tournament. And their closest game was against London. They still won by 3. Guelph goes 3-1, and hey, TMU, got to give some love to TMU. They had some up and down results during the outdoor season, but they go 2-2 here. They actually defeat London 11-10, so a big win for them Saturday morning. That actually gets them into the quarterfinals. So similar setup from the women's, where if you win your pool, you go to semis, and then if you come second and third, you go to quarters. You do a little crossover action. Now let's go to Pool B. Team's trying to confuse us all, of course, because McMaster X is on the roster or on the sheet, but they only have one team. So McMaster X, anyways. Waterloo, Toronto X, once again, only one team. Brock, and hey, shout out Humber College, my alma mater. I went there for 1 year, and they have a team, and they got some touring players from what I heard. So they got some decent players out there. They actually go 1-3, but the winner of the pool is McMaster X 4-0. Toronto goes 3-1, and Toronto got a scare from Humber because they only won 15-14. Looking at the score lines here. I'm trying to look at the McMaster and Toronto score. And McMaster won 12-9. So now that sets up some interesting quarters. You got a little, like I mentioned already, crosstown showdown. Toronto versus TMU. Toronto wins 13-10. And then Guelph coming back from the brink of getting crushed by Carleton. They win 10-9. And then they follow that up with a semifinals win Sunday morning. So looks like the games were offset so that the Opens played first, then the women's played second, because the Open semifinals started at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Guelph dispatches McMaster easily 15-8. Carleton gets a win 13-10, and then defeat Guelph 10-9 in the final. So congrats to the Ravens. I think they were live streaming some of their stuff because I saw some of those notifications pop up. So maybe they have some of that footage out there. McMaster X gets third, defeating Toronto 16-8. TMU 12-9 for fifth. I forgot to kind of talk about maybe some of the third place finishers. Guelph finished third in women's, and Guelph X finishes fifth in women's, and TMU gets seventh in women's. So just jumping right back into Open here. Carleton gets the victory. In their first showing, they got fifth. They beat Carleton B 16-10. So they combined the teams, I guess, or just had one team. Once again, coming from Ottawa to Brampton just for this indoor tournament. They got schooled the next day. So good on you. Toronto came seventh, their last one. They had beat Laurier 23-9, but they get fourth here. McMaster X, they were second previously, and they get third. So yeah, close results. I know there's one more event, if I'm not mistaken, in this series, and then I'm just gonna look it up right now as we speak. A little live research and fact checking, but yeah, the setup this year is different than in years past. So in years past, there would be like a marquee series. Kind of I mentioned that already with when there was a lockdown happening. So now there's just going to be the 3, and the best 2 events is where you're going to see who the winner is. Question is, like, do people value the indoor series? I think so in some ways. I think they see it as important. Probably not obviously to the extent of outdoor, but I think the students do care about it. And I think it gives a really good opportunity for a lot of student athletes, especially ones that maybe don't play club, to kind of get a little taste of some more high-level Frisbee, and then maybe they venture into club in the summer. So the final event will be in March, the middle of March. I'll be at a youth sports championship of some sort, so we'll not be able to attend in my hometown of Toronto, but it's taking place at a very familiar stadium, Central Tech. So that is the last event on the calendar. But as I mentioned previously, this was not the only Canadian team in action. There was another team, McGill MUT, McGill Ultimate Team on the open side, or men's side, they say in the US. They were called Muck in one of the articles, had to throw a little typo correction. But MUT is the team. And hey, they were the 12th seed overall, and they do not finish 12th. So we got to give some love to that first and foremost. But they were seeded 12th, so they were looks like third in their pool, in Pool A. There were 17 teams in this turn. No, 20 teams, excuse me. So pools of 5, 4 pool play games for McGill. And they start off with a big W over North Carolina Wilmington, 14-12. So had a chance to kind of glance at this game. Wilmington actually broke to take half 8-6. There's a turning point in this game, and maybe you don't want to watch the whole game. Maybe you're not a subscriber yet. You should be, and you should be tuning into this game. That's why I'm not going to tell you everything that happens. But there's, in one point, Wilmington's up 10-9, and McGill's not stuck. Wilmington's pressuring McGill's end zone, and McGill has some really good end zone D, forcing a turnover. They actually go on and score to make it 10-10. They actually go up another break at one point. And they actually, if I'm remembering correctly, I believe they break to win. There's a nice shot from Nathan Wu to McAloo Green for the score. Nice box out. Green's actually been on the podcast before. But if my memory serves me correct, they broke to win. So it was a universe point game. A big W for them early on in the tournament. People got a little buzz around them, as they generally do in the New England region, but there's just so many good teams, right? There's Tufts, Northeastern, and I haven't even mentioned the 2 top teams in Vermont and Brown. So there's just a lot of good talent out in the New England. Truthfully, if McGill was in the Metro East, they'd be going nationals every year, I think. So McGill, too bad you're not a little bit closer to Ontario that you could be qualified for the Metro East. Should I say Metro East? And that's why I keep telling teams in Ontario to apply, to try to go and play. Even Manitoba, like North Central, yeah, Minnesota, Wisconsin, but like, yeah, you probably won't get a second bid. So maybe you should still go though. Manitoba, you should still go. Minnesota's good this year. Paul Krennic's nasty, but you should still go. And then, of course, BC teams are out here going. So anyways, McGill then takes on Darkside, and if you don't know, they're the 3-time defending champions, going for number 4 this year. And they have a good game, 13-9. So, I mean, it's not you would think they're going up against these like defending champs, multiple-time defending champs, and yet they're putting up a decent scoreline. From what I'm hearing, listening to Deep Look this week, Darkside's still trying to figure stuff out. So it's not like they're fully firing all cylinders right now. It's still early season for these teams, obviously, because championship happens in May. So they're not necessarily looking to peak in this tournament. But either way, like this is a big, obviously it's a loss, but I think this is a big win for McGill to be able to go up against a team with the je ne sais quoi, the moxie, the legend, right? And to be able to pull out that result is pretty good. So I think you got to be pretty happy about that. I'm happy that McGill got into this tournament so that they could just be able to compete against these teams. They look pretty good on film. So you should check it out. I really like their 2-3-2 zone that they're running. They run that a bunch on defense. Seems to cause some issues for teams. After that, they beat Virginia 11-7, Virginia Night Train. They also beat the Indiana Hoosier Mamas. I like to give the different U.S. college team names because probably folks, you don't know them. So McGill wins 15-9. That actually gets them into the pre-quarters. Or is it auto quarters? No, pre-quarters. I was right. So they take down Tennessee Prohibition 15-7 early on Sunday morning, setting up a matchup with North Carolina State. In the beginning of the game, it is not pretty for McGill. They go down 4-0, but they slowly call their way back. I know NC State takes half 7-3. If you're following kind of the U.S. college scene, first of all, you should be. If you're not, Sean Wiles, number 31 on NC State, kind of runs roughshod in this game. He kind of goes crazy. So he's one of the top players to watch. Number 31, I believe, is his jersey number. He was going crazy. So he plays for Ring. He's a really good player. And yeah, that was pretty evident in the McGill game. Mataraju as well is pretty good. So they actually bring it pretty close. They actually get a break to make it 10-8, and that's the final score. But it's hard capped and the game is over. So they didn't seem too dejected, at least from what I saw in film, like the body language. I think they were happy to put up a strong effort against NC State. This team has gone to nationals multiple years in a row. I've actually had the pleasure of calling an NC State game 2 years ago at college nationals, so they're a good team. And we'll see how McGill bounces back. So that drops them into the 5th place bracket. And as they want to bounce back, their games are canceled. So they were going to have a rematch with North Carolina Wilmington in the 5th place semis. They would have played the winner of Ohio State, North Carolina, Charlotte, Skyrise, or kind of the loser, depending how it shook out. But none of those 4 teams get the chance because some of the weather didn't cooperate, let's just say. Sure, they're trying to protect the fields too, maybe. But so McGill technically finishes tied for 5th with 3 other teams. Coming seeded 12th, maybe people thinking they get into pre-quarters, but with the big pool play win, they kind of draw an easier pre-quarter matchup in Tennessee, the last seed in the tournament, and they took care of business. So does this mean they're going to get a bid to nationals? I don't know, but I'm hoping that they go to a couple other tournaments. If you go to Frisbee-rankings.com, big shout out Cody Mills. He runs these big algorithms and kind of predicts where the bids are going. So right now, New England has 3 bids in the region. And obviously this is very early, so please take this with a grain of salt if you're looking. There will be a lot of changes throughout the season. Like, for example, Vermont doesn't have a bid right now, and I imagine after they play a couple tournaments, probably see them at like Smoky Mountain and maybe Eastern's as well, that those rankings will definitely change. McGill currently ranked 29th with their weekend going 4-2. So yeah, that's what they're doing. There's another tournament coming up this weekend. I don't have the schedule yet, at least right now. I'm going to double check. But Prez Day is happening. I know from what I saw in the Discord, UBC men's and UVic men's are going. Don't know if UVic women's are going. I know UBC women's are not going. Correct me if I'm wrong, Danny, when you're listening, but I believe your next tournament is Stanford Invite. So, yeah, you should wait to see UBC women's kind of early March. This actually segues well because if you want to know more about UBC season, you can not do what I just did, which is guess, and instead you could actually subscribe to their newsletter. So some teams have started to do this. I think, I know Furious started that, but I think Ring did it as well. It seems like a kind of cool little fundraising idea. So if you want to support the Birdies over in UBC, you can check out their fundraiser. I believe all their details will be on their Instagram, so just check it out. I think it's like $5 a month or something. You get like Coach's Corner, you get some alumni spotlights, and you get, I don't know, I always like the behind the scenes stuff. I'm watching a Netflix documentary called Quarterback right now, featuring Pat Mahomes and Kirk Cousins and Marcus Mariota. And it's kind of cool to see behind the scenes of athletes. So obviously you're not getting a documentary, you're getting a newsletter. But hey, you're getting some notes and you get to learn more about one of the top teams in the country. I would say the top university team in Canada. Victoria might have something to say about that. But yeah, so check out that newsletter, Prez Day and stuff like that. Yeah, that pretty much wraps up the episode. It's going to be kind of a short and sweet one today. Was really thinking about what I would say for subscriber only. We're going to see the subs only next time is what's going to happen. So thank you again for tuning in. Yeah, if you're a Canadian college team, university team, and you're going to a U.S. tournament, please let us know because, yeah, there's more tournaments on the horizon on the USA Ultimate College schedule, but you don't always get the team list until like a few days before. So send us a message. You should be trying to play those tournaments and getting better. So congrats to the teams that won this past weekend in the Eastern Indoor University Series. Tryouts are coming up soon, so you better get dusting off those cleats, as Danny said before. You should be hitting the track, getting your throws up as you get ready for trials. It's going to be an exciting summer season with nationals out in Waterloo for Masters and Ottawa for seniors and juniors. UFA season kind of creeping around the corner too, so if you peep the social media accounts of the Russian Royale, they're kind of getting things started with tryouts and things like that. Royale posts a lot of like behind the scenes content as well. they'll show like the meetings, and I try to like zoom in to see who's there, you know. And they show some practice content as well. So give those a follow if you feel so inclined. And we'll see you in 2 weeks for another episode. Peace and love. See ya.